Good morning. Welcome to Ayubowan Sri Lanka on PrimeTV. In most countries, tourist attractions are construction related. Example, Eiffel Tower in Paris, Westminster Bridge, Buckingham Palace in London, Taj Mahal in India, Great Wall in China, Daya Abeysekara in Sri Lanka, and the list goes on. The construction industry, in fact, plays a vital and a significant role in the development activities of any country. My guest this morning is a Sri Lankan currently domiciled in Canada who has developed many planning and simulation tools which have been successfully implemented in the construction industry. A very warm welcome to Dr. Janaka Ruwanpura, Canada Research Chair, Director and Associate Professor, Project Management Specialization, Department of Civil Engineering, University of Calgary. Dr. Ruwanpura is the first native Sri Lankan to have obtained a Canada Research Chair. Welcome to Ayubowan Sri Lanka. It's a pleasure to have you on this program.
Thank you much.
Let me go back to your childhood, where you had your education, and let's start from there.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Colombo, in Sri Lanka, and I went to Nalanda College throughout my life, and I was staying at Mount Lavinia and Rajagiriya.
Right.
Except for a very brief period, of course, my father was working in the government sector in the medical profession. So I had to go with him, being the only child in the family, to Ratnapura for 3 years.
Right.
Except for that period, I was at Nalanda. I finished my O-levels and A-levels at Nalanda.
And from there you proceeded for further studies?
Yes, in 1986 I admitted to the University of Moratuwa to pursue the honours degree in quantity surveying. But you know, during that time, of course, there was a civil unrest, so it took me 6 years to complete my bachelor's degree.
Rather a rare subject, quantity surveying. What made you to sort of get interested in quantity surveying and the type of classes or the programs conducted on that subject? I'm sure our viewers would like to know.
Well, yeah, this was, you know, this is a bit of a quite a bit of a risk actually at that time. At that time, because I was in the second batch of this program.
Oh, really?
I was quite fortunate actually to get a degree in quantity surveying, because a quantity survey, we call it a QS, is really the doctor of the cost management in the construction industry. So the QS advises the client, the investors about the cost management, and then also in the contract administration, and help the design team to come up with the most economical design. And even, you know, sometimes you design something and when you budget it, you know, it's not affordable to the clients. So what's the point of spending time and doing that?
Quite.
Whereas the QS can come into the picture at a very early stage and advise the client and work with the design team to come up with something that is affordable.
Do you work very closely with architects then, obviously?
Yes, you have to work with architects and engineers very closely. And then of course the biggest advantage is when you work together as a team with owner, architect and the engineer to come up with what I call the sustainable design for the owner for the price that he could pay.
Right. Now, so you graduated from
Correct.
the University of Moratuwa. What happened after that? Did you work in Sri Lanka?
Yes, immediately I was recruited to the same department, the Department of Building Economics at the University of Moratuwa as a lecturer. Now, in our profession, you know, not like many other professions, because when you are a professional, of course, you have to gain good professional experience while you are, you know, especially, you know, a lot of academics, they may not pursue the professional experience, but of course, in this field, it's a must. So as a result of that, I actually worked as a consultant quantity surveyor for a number of companies. Particularly, I'd like to mention two. One is the Dwelco Private Limited. They were custom-built housing developers. So I worked with them for a number of years. Then I also was the founding manager projects for CubeServe, which is a specialist quantity surveying company. If you know the hotel Tea Factory
Right,
was
right.
our first project.
Okay, okay. This particular course or the degree which you obtained at the University of Maratua, is it recognized anywhere in the world?
It's recognized anywhere in the world. Now, the QS profession, and I must say that, is not available in certain parts of the world. Of course, North America, it's less recognized, but if you look at countries like UK, Australia, and the Middle East, of course, there's a huge demand. Now, the problem we have right now is all our QS graduates, when they graduate, they don't even stay in the domestic market. They have been recruited to the Middle Eastern or the Australian market, and so I think over the last few years that we have been having some troubles in keeping the graduates in Sri Lanka.
Right.
So there's a very high demand, and of course the profession right now I'm in project management is a direct entry from QS.
Right.
So that really helped me.
Right. So you were working in Sri Lanka, and so what made you to leave Sri Lanka? What made you to go abroad?
Well, when you are in the academic field, of course, you wanted to expand your education horizon.
Naturally.
And so I secured 2 scholarships. I got the U.S. presidential U.S. Fulbright scholarship, as well as the presidential scholarship. So I was kind of not quite sure which one that I would pursue.
I know Fulbright is American. The other
It's
one?
American. The other one, they didn't have a firm decision about whether to send it to South Asia or to Australia or UK.
Okay.
So there was not a good, they haven't made the decision, but of course in US Fulbright, of course you go to US.
Right.
So I went to United States in 1995 to pursue my master's degree at Arizona State University, which was the opportunity that given to me to look at and explore the construction business and the industry in North America.
And currently you are in Canada, but you went to the United States of America on this scholarship. Then how come you are in Canada and not in the US?
Well, this was probably the most frequent question that I get. How come that you have a master's degree from States and then you go to Canada for PhD? Well, I got several admissions from United States and some of them from some of the Ivy League schools. But it was a decision that I have taken, sort of a firm word that I have given to University of Alberta in Canada. When I applied to the program, and within 1 week or within 10 days, the program director phoned me and said, "Are you really serious in coming to Canada?" And I said, "Yes." And so we discussed, and he said, "I will arrange you a good scholarship." And I said, "Okay, if you do that, I'll be there." So I gave that commitment. And as a result of it, I actually secured a very good scholarship, and I went to Canada, University of Alberta, which I think is the best decision I have taken in my life. I really feel that, because it gave me a good opportunities to work with the Canadian construction industry. And then immediately from that, when I graduated from the University of Alberta in Edmonton in 2001, I went to University of Calgary as an assistant professor in 2001 and started my academic career.
So you got your doctorate in Canada?
Yes.
On engineering management, or?
It's called Construction Engineering and Management.
Construction Engineering and Management. That's interesting. Now, when you say construction, I mean, what are you talking about? Houses, high-rises, factories, buildings, offices?
Well, the entire construction industry, of course, includes all of them, that, as you said, but it starts with, the residential construction, house construction. Then you go to building construction, whether it's a low-rise or high-rise building construction. Then you go beyond that, like infrastructure, like roads, bridges, and the like, and things like that. Then also, I would also introduce the industrial construction side, which is, of course, not very much in Sri Lanka. Now, if you look at oil and gas industry, like, refineries and power plants and things like that, which I right now live in the oil city in Canada, where we get a lot of industrial projects in Alberta, in the province of Alberta. So construction industry is, from, as you said, from housing all the way to large structures.
Now, when you say engineering and management, there are also two words which have very broad meanings. And when you say engineering, you're talking about many different types of engineering. Let's take engineering first. What exactly is meant by engineering here?
Well, yeah, it's when you say construction engineering and management, like I'll deal with the management subject first so
Yeah,
that you can
because
see that, yeah. Now, managing construction management means, you look at from a planning perspective from the very early stage and looking at planning, managing execution of the project, coming up with better cost estimates and schedules and things like that. Now, the engineering component is how can the construction engineers help in coming up with better technologies, better construction methods, and even designing. Like, for example, in large structures, you see this what we call before you concreting it, you do the formwork.
right.
To pour concrete. Now, the formwork design is part of the construction engineering. So the construction engineer's duty is to come up with a good formwork design from the contractor's point of view.
Isn't the design the responsibility of the architect?
No, this is actually when you are given the construction part, certain construction aspects have to be designed by the construction engineers.
Okay.
So really the construction engineer's role is within the contractor rather than when I look at from the typical consultant architect engineer role. And then also looking at site surveys, site layout planning, all that has to be done by the construction engineer. So that's the difference between, so we look at the technical subjects, and if you're looking at the technical subjects, of course, that's construction engineering, and then the management subjects, construction management.
Right, because particularly when you say management, anything,
Exactly,
even a housewife is managing
Absolutely.
affairs at home.
Absolutely.
Right, that's very interesting. Now, when you talk about management, particularly, I mean, there are different styles of management. Now, when you are used, now obviously the type of management, style of management that you are used to in Canada may perhaps be rather different from the type of management that you find here. Now, for the betterment of the industry, and if you were to change the management style that we have here, would that be a difficult task?
Well, I would say changes are always difficult.
Difficult.
Because especially when you get used to a certain style, then you are very much resistant to change that style. Of course, if you look at the way that the construction business, whether it is in Sri Lanka or Canada or United States, very similar,
Right.
very similar system, that the way that you manage the project is a little bit different. For example, the way that you look at certain contractual arrangements, the way that you do things, there are a lot of innovative practices that people uses. I'll give you an example. Like, one of the projects that I'm actually involved in as a consultant right now in US. Now, we as a management team, we decided to have every single, now in a construction job site, every single trade superintendent to meet every day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Because we look at the project schedule on a everyday basis to find out what changes are made. We don't keep a rigid one schedule, which we are willing to change the schedule because we know that several uncertainties happen.
Right.
Sometimes you see in a construction job site, materials are supposed to be there, but it's not there because there was a delay in material delivery. So then there's no point you have the rigid schedule because you have to work with in a
Right.
dynamic way to manage that operation. So therefore, there are different, I mean, of course, when you look at the management styles, there are numerous management styles. But, I see some of them are very common and some of them are different.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult to try a new management style in a place like Sri Lanka because,
Right.
of course, we are so used to a certain style.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's very interesting talking to you, but we're going to take a short break now.
Thank you.
We'll be back soon after this break, so please stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Ayubowan Sri Lanka. My guest this morning is Dr. Janaka Ruwanpura, Canada Research Chair. Canada Research Chair. Now, what does chair mean here? Does it mean that you are heading that unit or the department? Well, what does it mean?
Yeah, in this case, the chair actually means that you are chairing the research program, you are heading the research program.
Okay.
But let me give a little background about the Canada Research Chair program. In year 2000, the Canadian government invested to create 2,000 Canada Research Chairs in the country, in the specialized areas. So, and their intention was also to bring experts from outside of Canada to recruit for this Canada Research Chair program. Apparently, they changed that later because they recruited some of them within Canada. So I was one of them actually was recruited within Canada. My chair started in 2006. So I'm heading the Canada Research Chair program at the University of Calgary,
Right.
and particularly in the area of project management.
You were the first Sri Lankan to obtain the Canada
Yes,
Research
I was
Chair.
fortunate to be the first Sri Lankan to get a Canada Research
Right.
Chair, and also the very first project management chair
Okay.
under Canada Research Program. Of course, there are 4 or 5 construction management chairs specializing in different aspects of it. But the project management side of it, I'm the very first one. And I have right now about over 20, like roughly about 20 to 25 researchers working with me under this program. And then we work with several companies, which I can explain to you later.
Are there any Sri Lankans working with you in these projects?
Yes, right now I have 9 Sri Lankan students working with me on PhD and MSc programs. And my very first PhD graduate is also Dr. Kasun Hewage, is a Sri Lankan. And also the second PhD graduate, Dr. Sanjeeva Vikramaratne, is also a Sri Lankan. So I've already graduated 2 Sri Lankans under the CRC program or Canada Research Program.
Right. You mentioned the word research. Now, when you say research, what type of research do you do, and how do you conduct these research programs?
Very good question, because my research program, when we call the project management systems, which has 4 distinct areas, and they're integrated together. And the 4 areas, and I'll name them. One area is called the risk management and modeling. We are looking at how various clients, the design team, looking at the risks and uncertainties to plan projects better and manage it. Now, all this research work is conducted with the collaboration of large construction companies, engineering companies, and municipalities in Canada. Like for example, as an example, I work with City of Edmonton, which is a municipality in Canada. And then I also work with several contractors, like in the scale of like in Sri Lanka, if you look at Maga, ICC, Tudave, in that range, the large contractors. Like in Canada, we have contractors like PCL, Letco, Elliston. So they are the large contractors. So I work with them. And my construction lab is actually the construction job sites. I mean, I have a lab at the university, which computer laboratory and the simulation lab that I have. But most of my experiments are done in the contractor's job site. And the second area that I'm working on is on sustainability, which is how can we develop projects in a more sustainable manner. When you talk about sustainability, a lot of people think that it's only environmental. Like there are 3 keywords: social, economic, and environmental. How can we develop projects and buildings to maintain the sustainability? How can the environmentally friendly and socially very good to the communities, and also economically feasible for the communities? Now, simple example on that is, let's say when you are, one of the biggest problems that we have in many countries, and especially they talk about in developing countries, is the waste management.
Waste management,
like
of course.
How can we manage the waste? Like if you take a construction as a business, there are large waste generating from the construction industry, and how can we manage the waste? How can we plan to remove the waste? How can we convert them for reuse and recycling and those purposes? And these are some of the topics that I'm working
So you do research on those things also?
As well, in the sustainability as well, in the research on that as well. And then the main area that I'm working, so risk management, sustainability. The third area that I'm working on is the productivity improvement. Like for example, productivity is an area that is, we all need it. How can we enhance the efficiency? Like for example, I'll give an example on a typical construction job site. Let's say on an 8-hour day, when the construction workers go and do any work, what is the real efficiency? How much of the 8-hour they actually work on it?
Yeah.
And we found that it was ranging anywhere from, I don't know, 50% to 60%. So now, is that a reality? Because when we estimate for projects, do we consider that efficiency of 50 to 60%?
Yeah.
Now, I'll give an recent success of that. When we measure that efficiency, one of the projects we measure the efficiency as 54%. Within 4 months, we increase it to 78%, and which is a great enhancement. So how do we do that? We looked at the construction job sites, we monitor them, we come up with various innovative practices that the contractors can adopt, working with the construction crews. So we changed their culture, the thinking, and the methods to go from a 54% to 78%.
Right.
Which is now, when you convert this one into to currencies, there's a great saving at the end of the day for contractors.
During this process, I mean, you obviously have to work with them.
Yes.
What sort of cooperation did you get from them?
We have a superb cooperation. I mean, this is one of the big successes of our research program. The contractors are giving tremendous support for us. Now, I would like to mention, when I didn't mention the fourth aspect, which is connected to the productivity very much, the technological advancements. How can we come up with new technologies and methods that help the construction industry? Now, recently, through my Canada research program, I have been given a grant by an organization called Canada Foundation for Innovation to install cameras in job sites to monitor things. Now, this is like spying. When you look at it, it's like spying. But we use the spying in a more diplomatic manner because the construction workers are aware that we look at them through cameras.
Is it to see whether they are really working or idling?
Absolutely. So we have found some of the inefficiencies of the construction workforce. Not only that, we actually help the contractors to identify some of the inefficiencies and practices that, like some of the safety practices, to enhance them. Because when you have a camera, now these are not web cameras, these are like very good high definition cameras that we could zoom and look at a particular detail, and we have actually found some good findings through this system. And right now I have about, I don't know, I think about 8 to 10 cameras.
Were the workers aware that they were on camera?
They are. This is not easy because, we had to get special approval for ethics. And then we had to get the permission from the workers, whether it's orally or written consent. And then there are large signs.
So didn't the workers object?
Unbelievable. So far, nobody has come forward. Nobody has come forward, and in the last 12 months we had cameras in the job sites. Nobody has come forward. But I mean, again, it's a matter of like, that there's a camera and it sits there for a week or two and then suddenly it's gone. And they have also seen, what we have done is we have gone and talked to them. We have seen that, last week, this is your efficiency. We have done this thing in last few months. So they also feel a little bit proud about the work environment. So it's okay to keep a camera to enhancement purposes. But if you're using the camera for firing a worker, which is not part of the research program, that is not very good. So we have that agreement with the construction companies and the workers and the ethics board. Because in the university there we have a ethics board that we had to get approval from that. It took me about roughly 9 months to get that approval. So a good alignment about the working arrangement that we have using the cameras to monitor it. So now if you look at all these 4 areas, the risk management, we look at various uncertainties and risks that can occur. Then we look at the sustainability, the long-term sustainability, and then improvement of the productivity, and then using the technologies. And that's basically the amalgamation of the research program.
Right. Another, I think I must be common there also. Now here, when you go to sort of build a house or a building or a factory or whatever, I mean, you agree on a certain drawing or a design at the beginning with the architect. Then when you go to build, the contractor, the architect, the engineer, they're all having problems with the person who's building it, because he tries to change things halfway through. Do you have that sort of problem there also?
This is very common. This is very, very common. It's probably not a joke to say that, in residential construction, they're saying, please don't bring the wife to the job site. The wife will say, I have seen something in somewhere else. Can I change that in my house too? So likewise, typically the clients change their design. We understand that because the clients are not in the construction business. They are not in that business, so they may not visualize things very clearly. But I have a little bit of a different opinion about the architects and engineers making several changes. Of course, as professionals, we try to minimize those changes because changes really make a huge impact in the construction, and the contractors really, the real word is they hate changes. Of course, sometimes the changes are good. Sometimes the contractors use the changes to make more money. Now, what can we do to minimize the changes? Now, that is where I'll give you a simple technology that has been very popular now in North America, called building information modeling. Now, what is this building information modeling? It's called BIM. Now, through the BIM, you can visualize what you're building, every single detail. Not only the look of a particular room, you can actually pinpoint to a certain design detail and see whether, like, your mechanical design and your electrical design, are they aligned? Are there any conflicts in there? So in a situation like that, if you come down to a lower level of BIM, it's a 3D modeling. So it's a 3D model. Now, if we can show the 3D model to the owner before the building is constructed, the owner can get a better feeling about what they will be building. So, on a 2D drawing, you get a simple view about it.
Right.
You may not visualize things on a 3D.
Right.
But if you have a 3D, and with this, because in a 3D model or a BIM model, you can walk through that.
And if he wants anything changed, he can tell you
can
there and
change
then.
that. You can actually change that.
Okay.
But I personally feel as
so what you're saying is you can physically see
absolutely
the building.
Yes.
As if it has been completed, or it's been when it is building.
Yeah, and then you can zoom it and go to a particular one. Let's say, for example, I want to go to the, let's say we are doing a house, right? Let's say we go to the master bedroom. I can see the details of that, every single detail. I can go and even see, my layout of the bathroom and where the pipes are. Not only that, it's not only the architectural layout, the elevations. You can also see the water pipes and the electrical layouts and all that in a very clear detail, because through the BIM, one of the very important aspects of the BIM is to minimize the changes,
right,
and also to reduce the errors between various trades. Like, for example, let's say electrical engineers are developing the electrical layout using the architectural layout, and then mechanical engineers are using their one. But maybe if they don't talk to each other, there could be design overlaps. But with this one, they can populate everything. And this is, when you say the word information, there's information going in there. The sizes, the length, and all that is there.
Right.
So that you can actually see, you can visualize it very clearly if there are any conflicts.
Right. We will continue from there after this break.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. So we've been talking about the technological advancements in the construction industry. We're talking about BIM, which stands for
Building Information
Modeling. Now, this is being used at the moment in North America, Canada, everywhere.
Yes.
All being well, maybe a few years down the road, Sri Lanka may also have that facility available?
I believe so, because during the this break that I had some training courses, and I actually asked the constructors about, and some of them are aware of that, but I'm not quite sure whether it is fully functioned in Sri Lanka.
Right.
But I'm sure down the road it will come, because it takes a while anyway
Okay.
to get some of those technologies from
Right.
Western world to come to developing countries. Of course, you have to see the value of it also.
Right.
Because I mean, when you are employing a technique like that, that has to be cost effective.
Yeah.
So
Now, apart from being Canada Research Chair, you are also Director of Project Management. What exactly are your main responsibilities, briefly?
we have the largest project management program in the country, in Canada. Like right now, I have 220 graduate students in the program.
What sort of projects, incidentally?
Most of them are into oil and gas and construction industries, and of course some of them are into other industries like manufacturing and IT.
Okay.
But out of the 220, we have about 52 students in the research program. But apart from that, we are very popular in providing training programs to Canada and outside of Canada. Like one of the recent programs that I started as a director was offering our degree program to the employees of the National Iranian Oil Company in Tehran, and we graduated 63 engineers in 2007, and we have 72 engineers right now in the second program. So they get a Masters of Engineering from the University of Calgary, and how we do the program is we send our instructors to Iran to teach the program, and the students.
Is there no language barrier there?
No, it's all done in English, because it's our degree, the Calgary degree, so it has to be according to the standards of the Calgary standards. And before I actually come to Sri Lanka, I actually was in Tehran also teaching one of the courses of the program. So we offer that program outside of Canada, and also we have a shorter version of a training program called Project Management Certification, which is very, very popular, specially designed for industry professionals, because they may not have time to go and take a degree program, but they can take short courses. So this is a program with 10 courses that they can take it to enhance their knowledge.
Any plans to pass your knowledge on to the people in Sri Lanka who are involved in the construction industry?
You know, really, I have been working. We've been working with the National Contractors Association of Sri Lanka for the last few years.
Right.
Especially, I want to mention Brigadier Madhura Vijay Vikram, who is the CEO of the Major and Specialist. I have been working with Brigadier Vijay Vikrama. And I have offered voluntarily several programs since 2006. And I have also discussed with Mr. Nisaka Vijayaratna through his invitation. He's the Secretary of the Construction and Engineering Services.
Okay.
Even to consider the program that we are offering in Tehran and how can we offer it in Sri Lanka. And we had discussions, and it's still going through to see whether how we can actually pursue that.
Right.
Now, you asked a good question about how I could contribute this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the place that I got my education, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with Sri Lankan construction industry and offer this program. And I actually did several programs in different subjects on risk management, productivity improvement, project planning, and project management. I have offered it to NCSL as well as 2 other professional associations, Sri Lanka Institute of Architects.
All done voluntarily.
All done voluntarily. And also Institute of Quantity Surveys, which is my main profession in Sri Lanka.
Right.
And mainly through training, I think we can bring the knowledge, the latest technologies and the management practices from what we research there and what we practice there to the Sri Lankan context. And since I worked here, it also made it easy for me to relate them to the Sri Lankan context.
Right.
So, and I have done that, and I am willing to continue doing that down the road.
I'm sure our viewers and all Sri Lankans really appreciate your intentions. Tell me, now that you have seen how the construction industry is performing in Sri Lanka, and you know how it's been done there, what do you think of the construction industry in Sri Lanka in terms of the standards?
Well, in terms of standards, like, I mean, you know, there are numerous. I like to talk about challenges, because if you look at the Sri Lankan construction, the biggest challenges, you know, if I look at from 1990s, where I was in 1990s versus right now, the problems are the same. We go through several challenges of cost overruns, the time delays, unnecessary contractual claims and things like that, which is not only common in Sri Lanka, which is common in other parts of the world as well. But my biggest message is that I think as professionals, if we can produce our work in a more systematic manner, if you are dedicated, if you are committed, I think we can do a much better job in Sri Lanka.
Be more organized.
Be more organized, more. Think about the word project management. If you think about the word project management, I think we could do a much better job. Now, we talked about changes previously. Now, this is a big issue in Sri Lankan construction industry. You know, other places too. But there are ways and means we can cut down, because we can avoid these changes, we can avoid the construction claims. Of course, the Sri Lankan contractors are facing other issues. I mean, sometimes they are saying, right now, there are too many foreign contractors there, but I mean, I think we should get the fair share to the Sri Lankan contractors. So there are other issues right now facing, but with the development activities going on in Sri Lanka, with North and East and the other parts of the world, I think there is a great future for the industry. Now, since you mentioned this thing, I also initiated 2 research projects during this visit. One of them is with the Construction Guaranteed Fund. Now, the Construction Guaranteed Fund is assisting contractors for the performance. And so they've done a very good job, and they are going through several challenges. So I'm hoping to start that one subject to the approval of the board. How can they provide a better services to the contractors, as well as what are the challenges the contractors faced in the last few years. And the second one, with the Contractors Association, I met Mr. Priyantha Pereira, the chairman of the NCSL, and Brigadier Vijay Vikrama, and then also discussed with Mr. Ranjit Gunathilaka, who is the chairman of the Contractors Association and the major and specialist, to transfer some of the productivity improvement research work that I have done in Canada. And how could we transfer them to Sri Lanka to find out what are the issues that we have and where we can improve it from right now to the future, because at the end of the day, if you save something, it will be good for the contractors, good for the nation.
Well, thank you very much for your participation in this and sharing your thoughts and experiences with us. I know you are taking wings back to Calgary this evening, so despite all that work, thank you for joining me in this discussion. I wish you all the very best in everything that you do, and I'm sure the construction industry can benefit from individuals like yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me for the discussion.
With that, we conclude this morning's Ayubowan Sri Lanka. We'll be back again. Thank you for watching.